worst case I have ever seen as far as the facts go.
Is asking the judge presiding over his sex crimes case to throw out evidence. This is the case where he faces more than 60 counts of sex.
Why file this right now? Let's just start there, the timing of it.
Jesse, great to be on as always. And I guess better late than never when it comes to the Department of Justice. But really, 1 month before trial is...
The world is on the edge of its seat as Cassie's leaked freak-off tapes drop, exposing Diddy in a way that's shaking the music industry to its core. This is more than just a leak. It's a seismic shift in power, privacy, and the very fabric of fame. The audio, allegedly capturing raw, unfiltered moments of the iconic producer, has ignited a firestorm of speculation, controversy, and debate. Fans, critics, and industry insiders are scrambling to piece together the truth, while Cassie herself remains at the center of a storm that has rewritten the rules of celebrity, accountability, and the cost of fame. What began as a whispered rumor has now become a cultural reckoning, and the stakes have never been higher. The leak of Cassie's freak-off tapes has unleashed a torrent of questions about the boundaries of privacy, the ethics of artistic expression, and the legal consequences of unauthorized content. At its core, this controversy is a collision between free speech and the exploitation of personal vulnerability. If the tapes were shared without Cassie's consent, they could be seen as a violation of her right to privacy, a breach of intellectual property, or even a form of digital voyeurism that prioritizes spectacle over respect. The question isn't just whether the tapes were leaked, but how they were used, and who stands to gain from their release. In an era where leaked content has become a currency, the line between truth and manipulation is increasingly blurred. The legal implications of this leak are profound, as they force a reckoning with the power dynamics that govern the entertainment industry. Who holds the authority to control narratives? Who is held accountable when personal moments are weaponized for public consumption? These are the questions that have dominated the conversation, and they're far from settled. The leak's impact isn't just leak.
7, where Cassie had wrote, you know, we really had 1 week of each other just together, and I can say it's been the best and the worst. The defense asked her about her relationship with Diddy. Has it always been complicated? And she kind of affirmed that a little bit. She said she thought Diddy at first was actually more interested in her friend Carrie Morgan, somebody that's been brought up a number of times during the testimony. And so as far as a lot of these messages, part of it, when I was sitting inside the gallery today, I was kind of like, where is this going? You know, they were just reading text after text after text. It was bunches of pages, to the point I think the judge was kind of like, why are we, we need to find like a better system of getting Cassie to read these messages so that way there's not a holdup, because it was just so much messages to the point where sometimes you were trying to connect the dots and wondering what's happening. And so the presentation was a little messy on my end, at least from what I could see, that I was just kind of like, where is this going? And there were just so many points that I felt like they...
Legal. It's deeply personal. For Cassie, the exposure of intimate or controversial audio could be a devastating blow to her mental health, relationships, and public image. The psychological toll of such a leak is immense, as it forces an individual to confront the vulnerability of their private moments being dissected in the public eye. In a world where celebrities are often expected to maintain a polished facade, the reality of being exposed in unfiltered, unguarded ways can feel like a betrayal of trust. Cassie, a figure who has long navigated the complexities of fame, now finds herself at the center of a narrative that was never meant to be public. The leak raises urgent questions about the lack of support systems for artists facing such scrutiny, especially when the content is tied to a high-profile figure like Diddy. How does one recover from a moment that was meant to be private, now thrust into the spotlight? The human cost of this leak is not just about the content itself, but about the emotional and psychological damage it inflicts on those who are forced to live with its consequences. Beyond the legal and personal ramifications, the leak has sparked a broader cultural reckoning. The freak-off tapes, if they reveal unfiltered moments of Diddy's behavior, could redefine the cultural legacy of the track and its place in hip-hop history. Originally a collaborative effort between Cassie and Diddy, the song became an anthem of empowerment, a celebration of female strength and resilience in a male-dominated industry. Now the same track is being recontextualized as a symbol of controversy, its legacy transformed transformed by the very content that once celebrated it. The leak has forced a reevaluation of how we view the song, not just as a piece of music, but as a mirror reflecting
birthday party. Britney Spears was at that birthday party, and they were all brought by Diddy. She was asked about her financial situation around that time, and she said essentially she was doing well. She was, modeling. She was doing other things, and then they kind of touched base a little bit about her prior relationship even before Diddy, and that was with a producer named Ryan Leslie. And around this time frame, because Cassie was still in a relationship with Ryan at this time, the defense was trying to paint it as, when you had met Ryan, he was 10 years older than you at this point of time. And I had kind of looked it up. The Diddy and Ryan Leslie aren't necessarily close in age. I think Ryan Leslie's still in his mid-40s, whereas Diddy's in his mid-50s. So there's a little bit there, but I could kind of see where the defense was trying to go and try to paint it as that you kind of get with older producers, with older men that could possibly kind of help you with your career. Then we saw an email.
The power dynamics of the industry it helped shape. Questions arise about the role of leaked content in reshaping. Narratives about accountability, influence, and the commodification of personal relationships. If the tapes reveal moments of Diddy's behavior that were previously hidden, they could serve as a catalyst for broader conversations about the responsibilities of artists, producers, and collaborators in an industry where fame often comes at a steep personal cost. The leak has also reignited debates about the nature of fame itself. In an age where the line between private and public is increasingly porous, the exposure of intimate moments, whether through leaked audio, photos, or videos, has become a defining feature of celebrity culture. The freak-off tapes, with their raw, unfiltered nature, exemplify this phenomenon, raising questions about the price of fame and the cost of being in the public eye. For Cassie, the leak may feel like a violation of her autonomy, a moment where her private experiences are no longer her own. Yet for others, it may serve as a reminder of the power dynamics that govern the entertainment industry, where personal relationships are often leveraged for influence, control, and profit. The leak has become a microcosm of a larger cultural shift, one where the personal is no longer private and where the consequences of fame are felt in ways that extend far beyond the spotlight. Diddy's own comments, both past and present, have only added to the complexity of this situation. As a figure who has long navigated the intersection of music, power, and controversy, his responses to the leak have been as much a part of the narrative as the content itself. Whether he has spoken out about the circumstances of the leak, defended his actions, or remained silent, his words and their implications have shaped the conversation in ways that are impossible to ignore.
Notably, he was the escort that was inside that hotel room during the 2016 Intercontinental Hotel incident. There were other messages that went into, Diddy had a subject line that said, "What are you thinking about?" And then Cassie responded in a very kind of sexually explicit way that I'm not going to repeat on air. You could definitely feel like I was kind of peeking into what their history was like, especially in those intimate moments, and how the two would correspond about wanting to be with each other in an intimate way. And so a lot of those messages were displayed in front of the jury. The jury saw them. Us in the gallery, we saw these messages as well too. There was a 2009 email that Diddy had wrote to Cassie saying, "I want you to feel safe to let go." And Cassie wrote, "I like that. I want to give you the same. In order to be more open with the things that we do in bed, I need to feel safe like home, like this is my husband, and this is the only man that will ever have this aggressive / sexual."
The tension between his public persona and the private moments revealed in the tapes has created a narrative that is as much about the man behind the music as it is about the music itself. This duality between the artist and the person, the creator and the subject of scrutiny, has become a central theme in the discourse surrounding the leak. The leak of the freak-off tapes has also forced a reckoning with the ethics of artistic collaboration. When artists work together, especially in an industry as competitive as hip-hop, the lines between partnership and exploitation can blur. The collaboration between Cassie and Diddy on Freak Off was once a symbol of creative synergy. A moment where two voices came together to craft something that resonated with audiences. Now, the same collaboration is being reevaluated in light of the leak, raising questions about the nature of their relationship and the expectations that come. with it? Was the song a genuine partnership, or was it a transactional exchange of influence and power? The leak has brought these questions to the forefront, challenging the notion of artistic collaboration as a purely creative endeavor. In doing so, it has forced a broader conversation about the responsibilities of artists in an industry where personal and professional boundaries are often indistinct. The cultural impact of the leak extends beyond the music industry, touching on broader societal attitudes toward privacy, accountability, and the ethics of digital culture. In an age where the internet has become a space for both celebration and exploitation, the leak of the Freak Off tapes has become a case study in the power of digital media to shape narratives, influence public opinion, and redefine the boundaries of fame. The way the tapes are received, whether as a scandal, a revelation, or a form of justice, reflects the values and priorities of the society.
I'm nervous. I'm just the girlfriend that you get your fantasies off with, and that I just don't get that other part. And then she wrote ... anymore, at least. And she kind of, at least to me, in my perspective, appeared a little apprehensive about doing these freak offs. She was asked by the defense, do you have a fear that you guys wouldn't go public, you guys being Cassie and Diddy? And she said, I guess she thought about this. Again, this is around that 2009 time frame when the two were still kind of under wraps there. But she said that the freak offs were kind of an integral part of her relationship, and that essentially she just wanted more. There was a part where they had talked about her 21st birthday. Her 21st birthday is pretty important because that was the first time the two had kissed. That's the first time that she had kissed Diddy, because remember, she had met him 2 years prior to that time. She said that this was again at her birthday. Big names, like a name that we had seen in the People and Places list from jury selection. Dallas Austin was at
Society that consumes them. This is not just about the content of the leak, but about the culture that allows such content to be created, shared, and consumed in the first place. The leak has become a mirror reflecting the tensions between privacy and publicity, between truth and manipulation, and between the individual and the collective gaze of the public. For Cassie, the leak has become a defining moment in her career, one that forces her to confront the realities of fame and the consequences of being in the public eye. Her response to the leak, whether through public statements, artistic output, or personal reflection, will shape how she is perceived moving forward. In a world where personal moments are increasingly commodified, the question of how to navigate such a situation is as much about resilience as it is about agency. The leak has not only exposed the vulnerabilities of the entertainment industry, but has also highlighted the need for greater protections for artists who find themselves at the center of such controversies. The leak of the Freak Off tapes has also sparked a broader conversation about the role of leaked content in shaping public perception. In an era where information is both a weapon and a currency, the power of leaked material to influence narratives cannot be overstated. The tapes, whether they reveal truth or manipulation, have become a focal point for debates about accountability, transparency, and the ethics of digital culture. The way they are interpreted by fans, critics, and the media has created a landscape where the lines between fact and fiction are increasingly blurred. This is not just about the content of the leak, but about the culture that allows such content to be created, shared, and consumed in the first place. Ultimately, the leak of the Freak Off tapes has become more than just a moment in the careers of Cassie and Diddy. It is
relationship, because the defense was trying to point out that Cassie and Diddy, for about a 2-year period, they weren't as open with their relationship, and that Cassie essentially just wanted to be public. Again, something that kind of corroborated her under direct testimony, where she said that she just, was in love with him and just wanted to be with him at all points, all the time. A lot of just I love you back and forth, again, just kind of trying to establish that these two were in love, that it wasn't forced or fraud or coerced or anything like that. Then we get to a message around August 5th of 2009. Diddy asked, when do you want to freak off? Cassie said, I'm ready to freak off, LOL. Diddy responded, you tell me the date, you choose. And then I'm paraphrasing right here. She had responded, I feel like a Friday would be best. Diddy responded, also paraphrasing here, Friday it is. Maybe we can get Jules here. Jules was an escort that they had used very often in their freak offs, according to her testimony. He was brought up a number.
It is a reflection of the broader cultural forces at play in the entertainment industry and beyond. It is a reminder of the power of the public eye, the cost of fame, and the ethical dilemmas that arise when personal moments are exposed in a world where privacy is increasingly difficult to maintain. The controversy surrounding the leak has forced a reckoning with the values that govern our relationship with fame, truth, and the narratives we construct about the people we admire. In the end, the leak is not just about the music, but about the culture that created it and the consequences of that creation. The incident has ignited a firestorm of debate, capturing the attention of millions. A creator once celebrated for their bold and unfiltered artistic expression now finds themselves at the center of a controversy that blurs the lines between personal privacy and public curiosity. The leaked content, which includes intimate moments and private conversations, has sparked outrage and fascination in equal measure. This isn't just a story about one person. It's a reflection of a larger societal tension, the delicate balance between artistic freedom and the ethical responsibility of creators to protect the people in their lives. As the digital world continues to blur the boundaries between public and private, this moment serves as a stark reminder of the power of the internet to amplify both truth and harm. What began as a personal dilemma has now become a global conversation about the limits of creativity, the nature of relationships, and the role of digital platforms in shaping our modern reality. At the heart of this controversy is a creator whose public persona has long been defined by their willingness to push boundaries and share unfiltered glimpses of their life. For years, they've cultivated a following by embracing their unique.
And then Cassie responded, "You hungry, Pop Pop?" You know, and so I think what the defense was trying to do, at least with these initial messages, is just kind of show that there was love and there was affection there. But just think about these time frames and these dates. This was around the time that the two had first started dating, and I felt like it kind of played into what she had said under her direct testimony, that she did care about Diddy, that she did love him. She's been very honest about that, that the two were, that she felt like the two were in love, especially at the beginning of her relationship. There was one message from 2010. Cassie wrote, "Going to sleep so tomorrow will be faster," and kind of saying tomorrow will be faster so I can see you soon. Diddy responded, "I love you so much. I never knew it could be like this." Cassie responded, "I'm so happy. We're so in love." There was another message, this one from the year prior. Cassie saying, "I love you so much. It made me feel like I can't wait until we just don't care anymore." And Cassie was pretty much saying that this was because she wanted
voice and unapologetically expressing themselves through their art. Their work has been praised for its raw authenticity, often drawing from deeply personal experiences and emotions. Its openness has allowed them to connect with audiences on a profound level, creating a sense of intimacy that feels almost like a shared journey. However, this very openness has also made them vulnerable. The leaked content, which includes private messages and moments that were never intended for public consumption, has exposed the fragility of the line between personal and public life. The creators' followers, many of whom have come to see them as a confidant or even a friend, are now grappling with the reality that their private moments have been made public. The tension here is palpable. On one hand, the creator's art has always been a form of self-expression, but on the other, the very people they have shared their lives with are now facing the consequences of that openness. This incident has forced everyone involved to confront the complex relationship between creativity, privacy, and the expectations of an audience that has come to expect constant visibility. The leaked content has sparked a wave of reactions, both from the creators, supporters, and critics, each offering their own interpretations of what this moment signifies. For many, the incident highlights the growing challenge creators face in maintaining a sense of privacy while still engaging with their audience in an increasingly transparent digital world. The creator's history of sharing personal moments has made this particular leak feel like a breaking point. A moment where the boundaries of their public persona have been tested in a way that feels irreversible. Some fans have expressed concern for the creator's well-being, questioning whether the pressure to remain open and vulnerable has come at a cost. Others, however, have taken a more critical stand.
I think the reason may be for that.
Well, again, the defense counsel may be advising him not to make eye contact with her, but we've seen in plenty of cases that defendants don't always listen to their attorneys, right? Sometimes to their peril, to their detriment. But it also could be just, again, this is awkward and uncomfortable, right? And he also does not want to be perceived as trying to intimidate her on the stand, because if they ended up like locking eyes and there was like an awkward moment, then the jury or others, watching, including even the judge, could be like, are you trying to intimidate her in some way? I'm not going to tolerate that sort of thing. So there's that. And then also, of course, Cassie, Miss Ventura, has no desire to look at him or to relive. She's already reliving some of the most horrible moments in her life. There's no need to lock eyes with the person who inflicted all of that upon her for years and years at a time. I've had many a
arguing that the creator's willingness to share personal details has always carried the risk of exposure. This divide reflects a broader societal tension, the expectation that creators must be fully open and accessible, even at the expense of their own privacy. The leaked content has become a symbol of this struggle, forcing the creator to confront the consequences of their own choices, while also prompting their audience to reconsider the nature of their relationship. With their work, the incident has not only disrupted the creator's personal life, but has also reshaped the way their audience perceives the boundaries of artistic expression and personal vulnerability. The role of digital platforms in this incident cannot be overstated. These platforms have become the primary medium through which creators connect with their audiences, but they have also amplified the reach and impact of the leaked content in ways that are both unprecedented and troubling. The speed at which the content has spread, the ease with which it can be shared and recontextualized, and the lack of accountability for those who distribute it all contribute to a cycle of exposure that the creator could not have anticipated. In an age where privacy is increasingly difficult to maintain, the creator's situation underscores the ethical dilemma faced by anyone who chooses to share personal details in the public sphere. The platforms themselves, designed to foster connection and creativity, have also become spaces where personal boundaries are tested and often violated. This incident has forced the creator to grapple with the consequences of their own decisions, as well as the broader implications of how digital spaces shape our understanding of privacy and intimacy. The creator's struggle to control the narrative around the leaked content highlights the limitations of even the most well-intentioned efforts to protect one's personal life in a world where information spreads faster than
One thing the defense wanted to do, they wanted to make sure that Miss Ventura, instead of showing her pregnant body, was already seated before the jury came in. But the judge did not go with that. And so they were able to see, and she, took her oath and they saw her pregnant belly. Can you just break down why would the defense not want the jury to see her being pregnant?
The defense wouldn't want the jury to see her pregnant because of the level of sympathy that the jury may have for her. Now, generally, we see a woman that's pregnant, we think, oh, motherhood, this is a wonderful time in her life, etc. And, there's this warm and fuzzy feeling you often feel when you interact or see someone who is literally about to give birth. And then to hear and kind of juxtaposition that beautiful kind of aura with this depravity and this, gross things that are happening is going to be hard for the jury to look at.
We can contain it. The incident has become a microcosm of the larger debate about the responsibilities of creators, the power of digital platforms, and the evolving nature of personal relationships in the digital age. The broader implications of this incident extend far beyond the creator's personal experience, touching on fundamental questions about the relationship between artistic expression and ethical responsibility. In a world where the line between public and private has become increasingly blurred, the creator's situation serves as a powerful reminder of the challenges faced by anyone who chooses to share their life in the digital realm. The incident has sparked a conversation about the expectations placed on creators, how much they should be open, how much they should be protected, and where the boundaries of artistic freedom end. At the same time, it has also raised questions about the role of digital platforms in shaping the way we interact with one another. The ease with which the leaked content has spread has exposed the vulnerabilities of even the most carefully curated online lives, forcing both creators and their audiences to reconsider the nature of their relationships in the digital space. For the creator, this moment has been a test of their ability to navigate the complexities of their public persona while also protecting the people in their life. The incident has not only disrupted their personal relationships, but has also challenged the very foundation of their creative identity. In a society that increasingly values transparency and connection, the creator's struggle reflects a deeper tension between the desire for authenticity and the need for privacy. The incident has become a catalyst for a larger conversation about the responsibilities of creators, the power of the digital world, and the evolving nature of personal relationships in an age where everything
back, and there is that possibility of getting what we would call like tertiary trauma, where you get traumatized by hearing the things that have happened to other people. And, you're thinking about, well, this could have been my daughter, this could have been my my sister, this could have been my mom, whatever the case may be. Again, that's a lot for people. So I hope that they're trying to unpack this as best that they can. And if they need to, seek professional help after this is all over. Because obviously, a lot of these things you can't really share with a therapist while, you've sworn an oath that you're just going to listen and keep everything, especially when it comes to deliberations, private until the case is over.
Right. And we still have a long ways to go. I mean, we are only just a few days into this, and they're projecting that this trial is going to last 6, maybe 8, maybe 10 weeks. So there's still a long ways to go. And you brought something up that I think is important. Cassie Ventura is pregnant right now. She's about 8 months, I think, right now. And
Everything is connected. As the dust settles on this moment, it's clear that the incident has left an indelible mark on the creator's life and the broader digital landscape. The creator's journey has become a symbol of the challenges faced by those who walk the fine line between artistic expression and personal privacy. Their story is not just about one individual, but about the shifting dynamics of creativity, responsibility, and the expectations of an audience that has grown accustomed to constant visibility. The incident has forced a reckoning with the power of digital platforms, the fragility of personal relationships in an age of instant information, and the ethical dilemmas that arise when the boundaries between public and private blur. For the creator, the experience has been a wake-up call. A reminder that even the most open and honest expression of oneself can carry unintended consequences. As they navigate the aftermath, their story continues to resonate with those who have faced similar dilemmas, offering a glimpse into the complexities of living in a world where the digital and the personal are inextricably linked. The incident has become more than a controversy. It has become a reflection of the evolving relationship between creativity, ethics, and the digital age. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the complexities of artistic freedom, ethical responsibility, and the challenges of the digital age, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content. Stay tuned. For more discussions on the evolving landscape of creativity, privacy, and the role of digital platforms in shaping our modern world, keep the conversation going. What do you think about the balance between artistic expression and personal responsibility? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another insightful video. Danny Natiri.
Cassie had said that Diddy was pretty explosive when he found out that Cassie was taking his drugs, and Diddy had actually contacted drug dealers not to give drugs to Cassie at this point. The defense was trying to paint it out that Diddy was just worried about her health and that she was taking a lot of drugs including ketamine, GHB, MDMA, ecstasy. They talked about the Cannes Film Festival trip where Diddy had squeezed Cassie's leg so hard that a bruise appeared on her whenever she was taking pictures on red carpets, and he had squeezed her leg so hard, according to Cassie, because she had taken drugs from him. And then there was an interesting point that was talked about in 2013 where the defense was saying that Diddy overdosed on drugs after a freak-off. Diddy was hosting a party at a Playboy mansion. Cassie had to actually take him into the hospital, and that's when Cassie had learned that he had overdosed. There were a lot of points just throughout her test. Did she use drugs without Diddy? Did she use drugs when she was with her friends? Oh, do you not remember these questions or these answers because you were addicted to drugs around that time period? And so there was a point where Cassie had said that there was a time that Diddy didn't want Cassie to do drugs, even though she still was, or even though that Diddy still was. The defense says Diddy didn't want you hanging out with a certain friend. The friend's name was Bana. Bana is also a pretty important name into this story. I had covered her when she had filed her civil claim against Diddy. Bana was allegedly hung outside of a balcony by Diddy when he was going through a rage period, something that Cassie had talked about in her direct testimony to yesterday. And the defense was trying to say, well, you and Bana, you guys did a lot of drugs together. And Cassie at this time was saying, she was doing opioids. Meanwhile, Bana, according to Cassie, provided these drugs like opioids. Meanwhile, Bana did cocaine, according to Cassie.
Drug trafficking, one of the underlying crimes of racketeering. And I'm curious how they had that whole conversation regarding drugs. Was it just to suggest, she had a drug issue herself that was her own problem? Or was it also to suggest, hey, he had a drug problem and that explains a lot of his behavior, which if I understood it correctly, is interesting because I'm not sure I quite understood where they were going with that. I have an idea of where they were going with that, maybe to explain away some of his actions that they originally said were indefensible. So talk to us about what we know about all the drug use. What was the conversation about that? What was she questioned about?
Yeah, the drug use was also pretty prominent, especially during the afternoon portion. She was questioned, and I feel like the questioning along the lines, to your point, Jesse, was trying to paint her out to be kind of this drug addicted person during the time frame. They were questioning her, did she use drugs while Diddy and Gina were seen at Revolt Fest together, because somebody thought that that was actually Cassie. And so Cassie had sent kind of a nasty message to Diddy's entire staff that she thought were family, staff that she had thought had her back. But then when seeing these pictures, knowing that this was a point of contention in their relationship, she said she got upset about it because she thought the staff was her family and thought they were kind of in on this. And so those were a lot of the focus of just the other people who kind of played a role into just the tension that was displayed in the relationship between Cassie and Diddy.
And yeah, they questioned, it seemed to me, a lot of her motivations. They brought up the November 2023 lawsuit to suggest you knew this was going to ruin his career, right? Now, there was a large section of the testimony regarding drug use, and I couldn't tell if it was to suggest that, hey, Combs isn't responsible for your drug use. You know, one of the things he's charged with, right, is alleged he used drugs to
them in the studio together. And so the defense was saying that Diddy brought up Kid Cudi a lot after they got back together, and he especially would become angry over the holidays, recalling the Kid Cudi relationship, because this was around the Christmas time frame of 2011. Cassie had mentioned by New Year's the two being Kid Cudi and Cassie were already broken up. Diddy accused Cassie of having another relationship with another man while shooting a movie, and that movie was Honey 3, and this was in South Africa. I bring back the people and places list that was talked about during jury selection. Why? Because this was when Michael B. Jordan was named, and Diddy was apparently a little annoyed by the relationship that Cassie and Michael B. Jordan were having together while they were shooting this movie. And Cassie had even said around this time that she and Diddy weren't even together when she went off to shot the movie. She broke things off. Why? Because she had seen a picture that he was still with Gina. She was sent a video about that. Gina was somebody that Diddy had seen while he was still with Cassie, somebody that was a focal point of from her perspective of the jealousy. And so Cassie had learned that Diddy was seeing Gina. Cassie learned about this because of social media. And she said that Diddy initially denied seeing Gina, but learned that he was still seeing her during a point where she had told him to stop seeing her. And she called Gina actually a main problem in their relationship. And so this was around the 2013 time frame where Cassie said to Diddy, "You make me feel like a side piece. I'm happy with you no matter what," because Cassie thought she was the main girlfriend. She thought she was the only girlfriend. She didn't realize that he was seeing other people. She said that, not even surprisingly, she said that he had actually lost his temper when Diddy thought Cassie was cheating, but then when Cassie confronted Diddy about his cheating, it was like, deny, deny, deny. Another holiday time, because Diddy always spent the holidays with Kim Porter, with his children, something that, surprisingly, Cassie kind of mentioned that Diddy and Cassie didn't spend much time together with his children. Instead, the children were always with Kim Porter, and this was something that she was a little bit jealous of, that she wanted to be around him and see she wanted to be around him, be around his family and get all parts of him. And so, she did admit that she was a little jealous. We learned about Gina today. Gina is another central figure a little bit, and I've done a couple segments about Gina because Gina had previously gone on a podcast and spoken with a blogger talking about how her relationship with Diddy was, where she had alleged that Diddy was physically abusive with Gina. She had alleged that Diddy would refer to Cassie as the good one and Gina was the bad one. So for hearing from Cassie's perspective about the whole Gina situation, Gina was somebody.
Defense was also trying to portray her as a jealous lover, right? And go to her motivations about why she would be going after Diddy now. Talk to us about what we learned today from the cross-examination about how they tried to portray her, maybe with other interests that she had, other relationships Diddy had? How did they try to portray her as somebody who was jealous and maybe had other motives for coming after, accusing Diddy now?
Well, they definitely brought up Kim Porter a couple of times today. Kim Porter is a big name because she is the mother of a few of Diddy's children, including the twins, including Christian. And so Cassie had said that she had learned that Diddy had actually left a freak off to go see Kim Porter. Again, by this time, she was still the mother of his children. She admitted to being a little bit jealous of Diddy's relationship with Kim. And she said especially this kind of happened about instead of these messages, but it seemed like they wanted to get in front of these messages, provide context that Cassie was actually in love, that at times that she had set up these freak-offs even on her own, at times when even Diddy was sick. And so these messages were just all over the place. And at points I was just kind of like, where is this going? Because it really was so much. So I don't know how the jury felt listening to all of these today, too.
Well, I'll tell you, it seemed to me they were really trying to home in on the idea that she was a willing participant in the freak-offs, and that the jury, are you really going to believe that she was essentially held captive against her will, didn't want to do any of this for years because she was under threat or coercion of Sean Combs, and highlighting messages like, I'm always ready to freak off, LOL, or baby, I want to FO so bad, that's going to help their narrative, and saying she was the one who tried to set these up, or I believe there was testimony she heated up the baby oil to be used in freak-offs. But there's a part of something that you said that I thought was really interesting, where it seemed
I can't imagine they're getting a good night's sleep. Just from the perspective of you're listening and hearing some very, very vile things, and to even again, conceptualize that happening to someone, and you're looking at a young woman who, was beautiful at the top, in her prime when all of this was happening to her, and you now see her as a mother, she's pregnant again. I just can't even imagine what's going through the jury's minds in terms of the pain, because again, Kennedy, we're used to watching these types of cases and hearing these types of facts, and we still get shocked from time to time, but it's not the same reaction as someone who is kind of coming in with fresh ears and fresh eyes and hearing and seeing this type of depravity for the first time. So I'm hoping that the jury, when this is all over, they seek counseling if they need to, because again, there's a lot of things that you're processing and have to did. So I don't see that really panning out so well for the defense from that perspective.
And not just that, Ms. Ventura took the stand and was just detailing those freak-offs, those alleged freak-offs. How do you think the jury is processing all of this? I mean, Ms. Ventura said that she was allegedly urinated on by Mr. Combs and by an escort, that she said that Mr. Combs told the escort to do these things, that all types of just nasty and gross allegations here. How do you think that that's playing out in court?
So my understanding is that the jury hasn't been very emotional in the way that, in other words, looking at them, you can't really tell what they're thinking, what they're feeling. It doesn't seem like anybody's recoiling in horror or anything like that based on what I've heard. So you never really know what goes through a jury's mind.
Press her and say that she was in a relationship with Mr. Combs for more than a decade, and she had the ability to leave. She had the ability to run. Why didn't she? How could they argue that? How could Ms. Ventura argue that?
Well, of course, the defense is going to pose all of those questions. But again, it comes back to the whole concept of domestic violence. And unless, God forbid, you've been in that kind of relationship, or someone or someone you're close to was in that type of relationship, it's often very difficult to even conceptualize. But yes, sure, theoretically, she could have run out the door. But what happened in that video when she tried to leave? He beat her and dragged her back into the room. And not only that, after that whole incident occurred and she ended up being able to make it back home, he then showed up at her apartment banging down the door. So again, it's not like she didn't try to leave. She did. He just beat her every time she coercion. because coercion is part of domestic violence from the standpoint of you feel that you have to do certain things to keep the peace, to avoid getting a beating, to avoid people you love being harmed, that sort of thing. And so that coercion is going to play a very critical role in terms of the trafficking aspect, because if she felt coerced that she had to go along with these freak-offs and that she had to travel to all these destinations to do it, that speaks directly to the charge of transportation for purposes of prostitution as well as, sex trafficking. So it's not just domestic violence in a vacuum, it's almost domestic violence as a tool to be able to accomplish these disgusting crimes that Diddy is accused of committing.
Right. And Ms. Ventura has said multiple times that she feared Mr. Combs. She was afraid to say no. But even then, could the defense